Hari Om. Greetings, everyone. Today's topic is the 6 fractures that rob us of peace, happiness, and harmony. To realize yoga's full potential to bring wholeness and harmony, we not only need to take it off the mat, we need to bring it into the deepest recesses of our life and our minds. We need to travel beyond the surface meaning of yoga's principles and practices and follow them to a new vision of life, to a reality that can heal inner wounds and the chronic difficulties that plague our world. Let's take a look at the 6 common but false divisions that fracture life and that obstructs our well-being. These 6 major false perceptions fracture life into unhealthy, often competing divisions. They are the result of ignorance, and they continually obscure the experience of wisdom, compassion, joy, peace, harmony, and self-realization. These 6 are divisions between ourselves and others, ourselves and nature, body, mind, and spirit, the self we present to the world and the self we hide from others and even ourselves, life and death, our self as a body-mind, and the true self, our true nature. They're all symptoms of ignorance of our true nature, the true self, the experience of our source and essence. These fractures diminish caring and sharing and obstruct empathy and trust, while encouraging fear, envy, jealousy, and unhealthy competition. It is well known that the word yoga means union. Less known is that the same word also means remedy. Yoga is the remedy that can heal all of these fractures. Practices such as meditation, study, worship, repetition of mantras, the moral and ethical codes of the yamas and niyamas all have the power to heal the fractures. But today, we will look at one of the most effective practices for accomplishing our goal, the 4 locks and the 4 keys. We find them in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 1, Sutra 33. And I'll quote, "The mind becomes clear, calm, and bright when it cultivates and abides in the unconditional virtues of friendliness, compassion, delight, and equanimity in respectively conditions of happiness, distress, virtue, and the absence of virtue." These practices are actually a rather approachable way of turning our world topsy-turvy. They describe a mindset and a behavior that completely shuts out even the possibility of selfishness, fear, hatred, greed, and violence. When yogis encounter happiness in an individual or a situation, they generate feelings of friendliness, not envy or jealousy over the success of another, or regret or pity for not having that happiness themselves. Furthermore, friendliness breeds familiarity, and familiarity suggests that happiness will become a permanent member of our own family. I should add, and this is important, that this practice, along with all of the locks and keys, should be practiced toward oneself as well as applied toward others. What should yogis practice when confronted with unhappiness? Generate feelings of compassion. There is no question here of feeling that the suffering of others is a bother to us, or that we have a dismissive thought that they deserve their suffering. Instead, there is a recognition that no one wants to suffer. Suffering itself is a fracture that keeps us from enjoying life fully, and that can distance us from friends and family. And then there are times when we see virtues exemplified by individuals. It can be acts of generosity, compassion, empathy, or heroism. At times, virtuous acts can even be the products of people who are not usually very virtuous. For yogis who are practicing the 4 locks and 4 keys, the important thing is that a virtue has manifested in this world and that it has brought benefit. That is why yogis delight in virtue. And their delight also helps strengthen the virtues in them. We don't like to dwell on it, but it is true that we often find acts that lack virtue. Acts of hatred, racism, violence, selfishness, dishonesty, greed. What's a yogi to do? Maintain their equanimity of mind. The inner strength born of their practices is called forth. Yogis respond to these meritless acts with clarity, focus, and the readiness to serve. They understand that these non-virtuous acts are rooted in delusion, ignorance, and fear. Their clarity not only opens them to creative solutions, but also helps rouse compassion in them for the unhappy. So these are the 4 locks and keys. Let's review the 6 fractures that we discussed earlier. The divisions between ourselves and others, ourselves and nature, body, mind, and spirit, the self we present to the world and the self we hide from others and ourselves, life and death, the self as body, mind, and the true self, our true nature. All these fractures, all of them are healed by the remedy that is yoga. Try this for the next week. Make this coming week a 4 locks and 4 keys week. Apply friendliness to the happy, compassion for the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and equanimity toward the non-virtuous. You will certainly reap the benefits. Thank you for listening. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light.